Well, Trepang2 is back on the radar with a new DLC, Bladekisser. I've already made a video talking about the base game of Trepang2, and long story short, it's got its issues, but it's ultimately held up by its satisfying and gory combat. Of course, now that it has a DLC, Trepang has an opportunity to improve on its issues and bring it closer to perfection. Does this DLC achieve that? Let's find out. Bladekisser adds 2 new missions and 3 new weapons. Let's talk about the missions first, since you need to complete them in order to unlock the new toys. The first mission, I guess, you don't have to do these in any particular order, I don't think, but the first one I did was this TF-63 command center. This takes place on an oil rig looking platform in the ocean, and here you can find some enemies using the new revolver, which gives you a chance to try it before having it unlocked. Very nice. Now this mission continues to suffer from the issues that plagued the base game, which boils down to them sort of feeling like an asset flip. I'm not a game developer, I can't tell you if it actually is, but a lot of missions have this feeling of emptiness. It doesn't feel like an actual place, it feels like a video game level. There's not a lot of props or objects that give the illusion of this being a real place. It's kind of hard to explain, it almost feels like an empty multiplayer map. Like it functions in terms of gameplay, but it's not very immersive or believable. As soon as the action stops, it just feels lifeless. When enemies are present, it's less of an issue because it's no longer empty, there's stuff going on. But there's another half or so to this level. After you deal with the submarine, you go down into this facility, then you fight some more subjects, which are basically you. They can go invisible, they're very agile, and overall they're a good addition to the enemy roster. Of course, the arenas, enemies, and weapons all get added to the combat simulator, which is where the bulk of the gameplay takes place after these missions are done. So all this stuff here isn't just for a one-off level, you'll actually be able to play with this stuff in the normal game as well. So you clear out the subjects and some more lore kind of stuff happens. Again, the story is not very good in Trepang, but also again, they're putting effort in, which does make it better, and I'm actually starting to become interested in some of the story, and hopefully we'll see some more in future DLCs. And that kind of leads me to my major point here. Coming back to Trepang, I'm reminded of moments that come together, where all the parts of the game click together and magic happens. And one of these magic moments is here at the end of this first mission. You just got done dealing with this guy, and the facility then starts exploding because, of course it does. So now you need to bolt it back to the entrance and leave. And right here, right at this moment, where the game is shooing you back to the start, this is where the magic happens. The visuals, the sounds, and the soundtrack all come together and shine. For me, it's probably the soundtrack. Brandon McKagan does the soundtrack for this game, and it has such a signature sound to it. A mix of both really heavy riffs and a melodic pace that really just sells this moment here. The voice acting is also very good, it still is. Some characters sound a little edgy for my taste, but this exchange here at the end of this first mission is a really impressive display of Trepang's strengths outside of its gameplay. In Mission 2, it's time to head out and support a group of allied infantry against some bad guys. I don't know if it's intentional, but the role of 106 can really be felt in this mission. You're going to help the good guys defeat the bad guys, and that's really the entire context for this mission. We've never seen either one of these groups before, and the Auditor isn't someone that I remember, so I'm assuming he's new as well. Either way, the fact that these characters are so disconnected really sells the idea of 106, that's us, being this mindless killing machine. The mission starts, and I will say that this one is far better than the last. It maintains a much more consistent quality over the oil rig one. It breaks down the same, there's another new weapon pickup, the slower rate of fire machine gun. As with all the other weapons in Trepang, it both feels and sounds great. It's loud, it's punchy, and it tears through enemies. It also has a brand new attachment, that being the taser. The taser switches the weapon to a non-lethal variant, but will instead stun enemies. I found it difficult to dedicate one of my only 2 weapon slots to a non-lethal weapon, but I'd be lying if I said it was useless. It also adds a small layer to the gameplay, so overall it's a decent addition. Again, this mission is simply going from one room to the next, listening to people chatter, and killing whatever walks into the room. Although, halfway through this mission, we're hit with one of the best moments in the entire game. Spoilers, I guess, if you haven't played or something, I don't know. It's hard to spoil a game where the story is so minimal, but if you do care, skip ahead to this timestamp. Okay, we good? Everybody gone? Okay, so halfway through the mission, you're ordered to kill injured friendly units to supposedly stop them from being captured and spilling the beans. This is probably the first and only moment I can think of where the unstoppable killing machine, that being the player, is forced to do something immoral, which is kind of the whole point of the story and supposedly breaking the cycle. 99% of everything in this game is you killing bad guys, like just evil people. In the base game, of course, you fight the bad guys, and then when the good guys become the bad guys, you kill them too. It's just all very black and white. But now we've got some gray area, and I think this is where the game should focus its story beats in the future, because this was really good. You can't not kill them here, you have to in order to progress the game. But it's not like I wanted to, and you're not supposed to want to. It feels like the first interesting dynamic between the player and the game, and I really hope we see more of it in the future. And then the rest of the mission plays out how you'd expect. Kill the bad guys, something, we win. And that's it for missions added with this DLC. Now, this DLC is named Bladekisser, and there's a sword on the cover art, so where's the sword? Yes, I had that same question when I played. Where is the sword? And I guess you just pick it up from the base after you complete the missions? I was really expecting some sweet moment where you get your hands on the sword and go on an all-out rampage, especially when in the second mission, the guy who saves you says he used all of your ammo. I was so excited when he said that. I was like, yes, sword time, and then it just never happened. I don't know if I missed something, if I walked past it, or if I just didn't happen upon it, or if it's supposed to be like this where you just collect it from the armory after you're done. Regardless of what happened, I cannot express my disappointment deeply enough. I seriously was stunned that there was no awesome moment where you get your hands on the sword and just go to town. What happened here? Such a letdown. I cannot believe that there was just nothing. Well, that being said, how is the sword? Well, it's as sweet as you'd expect. Slicing enemies apart in the combat simulator was fun, and it even has a weakness, that being armored enemies, so it's not like it's going to render every other weapon pointless. It's fun, but again, why did this not have a dedicated section within a mission? I just do not understand. So overall, for 8 USD, how is Bladekisser? Well, it's good, but it's not, it doesn't, it won't, it's not going, it didn't, what am I saying? It's good, but it doesn't reinvent Trepang. I was really hoping that this could have been an opportunity to start fleshing out some of the weaker aspects of the game, because it really does have some weak spots. Oftentimes, the levels feel very asset flippy, kind of empty, lifeless. The story is not very good at all. It's all very edgy, you know what? Pun intended this time. It can feel cheap in those regards, but on the flip side, the animations are still incredible, the game's graphical fidelity is still top notch, and the gameplay is still superb. Actually, wait, this is a good place to talk about something that really bothers me about this game that I didn't get a chance to speak of previously. There's just one tiny little detail that just tweaks me, and it's how slow you are walking backwards. It is so slow, and I do not understand why. Anyways, for $8, it's probably worth it. It adds 3 weapons, a couple of missions, and then the arenas from the missions get added to the simulator, which you can play around with some more. I like Trepang. I really do. I think it's a good game. However, it currently sits at overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. And I hate to be a negative Nelly, but I just don't think that accurately represents the game. I'd give it like a B, like an 8 out of 10. It is really good, but it's not perfect by a long shot. I still think the base game is overpriced, I think the story sucks, I think the levels feel empty, and I think it's too short. But the gameplay is really good and really satisfying. The weapon variety, while not being huge, is big enough to have enough variation to be fun. I think it's good. I think the $8 for this DLC is worth it if you like the game, and I'm excited to see some improvements to the game's weaknesses through potentially some more DLC. Again, I like the game, but are you really gonna put it up against these games? These all have overwhelmingly positive. All these games, we're saying all these games are on the same level. I'm just saying they're not the same, okay? We can't put these in the same boat. But that's just me. What about you all? Let's talk Trepang2 down in the comments. Have you played the game in this newest DLC? What do you all think? Let me know. Until next time.